here. It's because of the hospitality of the people, the beauty of the country just attracted us. So it's I feel myself very privileged to be in a beautiful country, plus an important country.
Wow, thank you so much. We are honored to have you again. Looking at the gains, I mean, these two countries have been in a relationship, diplomatic relationship dating way back to 1968. From where you're standing, I mean, how would you describe the gains that both countries have made in terms of trade, health, education, or any other aspect whatsoever?
First of all, as you mentioned, we started our relations more than half a century ago, which is a quite long time.
Yeah.
And the important point is Turkey always regarded Kenya as a very important actor in the continent and a reliable partner. And our embassy is one of the oldest Turkish embassies in the continent. So this shows that from the beginning we attach great importance to Kenya, and from that date our relations improved gradually, step by step, mainly, especially after the high-level visits. For example, 2014, His Excellency Kenyatta visited Turkey, and later on 2016, our President. So these are very important milestones in our relations. Plus, Turkish Airlines is flying every day. Now we have to stop because of the COVID,
yes.
But this also brought two countries closer. And of course, from that time we develop our economic and trade relations. And then we have a very important development partnership with Kenya. So with all these things, now we have arrived to this point. And now when we look at our relations, of course it's developed a lot, but is it enough? No, it's way below its potential, because we have many things to do. I mean, in economy, in education, in development partnership, in security. So what I am trying to do is to bring our relations to a new level.
Interesting, and we're really looking forward to that. His Excellency, looking at the trade relations and the bilateral trade in terms of gains, dating way back to 2013, I'm just tracking 7 years back, we had $145 million gains in terms of bilateral trade, which rose all the way to $226 million in 2018. Followed up by $234 million in 2019. Now, despite the pandemic, which has hit hard, especially in matters of economy, should we expect should we have any hopes to keep this bilateral trade afloat, even despite the pandemic in 2020?
First of all, we are facing a global pandemic, and of course, all economies of the world are affected. Of course, Turkey and Kenya we cannot spare. But what we have to do is, okay, this is the situation, we cannot change it, but we must look for the ways how we can, keep steady our economic relations. So now we started working on it. For example, we have announced Kenya as one of the priority countries in 2018.
Okay.
And this is Kenya was among 26 countries, and among them were the United States, Malaysia, very big economies, but we also regard Kenya as a priority country. This shows that there is a huge potential. But then we faced the COVID situation. So when I look at the numbers, till March, it was again still satisfying. But definitely I must look at the April and May numbers, because most probably it was severely affected.
Yes.
But what we can do? Now Turkish Airlines has stopped the passenger flights.
Yeah.
But Turkish Airlines cargo flies to Kenya every day. Every day. So we are keeping Kenya connected to the world markets. of course, we also bring our goods, and we also bring Kenyan export products to the world. So this is important. We continue by somehow. Plus, I know that the Mombasa port is working. This is also very important. It means that the inflow and outflow is still going on. So what we do is now we check what Kenya needs. These important times. So according to this, we advise our private sector that, okay, this country needs this, but plus they want to sell their flowers, coffees, and tea to the Turkey and to the world markets. Let's cooperate on this way. Plus, now I can continue later on with your, questions. But I must say, we must develop a new reality at this. And I also would like to point one more thing. For example, before it was very important, our business circles visiting each other, going to the fairs and everything so on.
Yes.
This keep the economic relations alive. But now there is no flights, anything. Nobody can visit. So what we did is we initiated virtual trade delegations between Turkey and Kenya. And last month we had the first one. We bring 30 companies from Turkey and around 80 from Kenya. They met online and like a fair, but a virtual fair. They just see about look for the opportunities. So we must be creative in these times. And so I must say I am very optimistic. Wow. About our future.
That's very interesting. I mean, despite definitely the pandemic, the way you've just mentioned, the pandemics has shifted paradigms, and business globally are realigning and restructuring. You know, and you've just mentioned the way you have tried to cope up with the situation, and even bringing up the two countries. I mean, 80 investors from Turkey and some from Kenya. Of course, things and businesses, to be precise, have been affected. Talk of flowers, talk of coffee, and the exporting capacities have definitely decreased. So over and above some of this, what are some of other fields maybe you could advise the Kenyan investors and the entrepreneurs maybe to venture in, which are some of the things that may be quite sellable in Turkey at this point in time?
So from the beginning, we want to evaluate our relations with Kenya on a win-win basis. Okay. We just want to see, we want to benefit from these relations mutually. So we are in touch with the Kenyan Chamber of Commerce and other private sector institutions. We have some contacts, and we try to see, because now unfortunately when we look at these numbers now, it is a kind of an imbalance. True. We are benefiting more, but in order to have sustainable relations, it must be balanced. So also we want to import more from Kenya. So you have the best tea, you have the best coffee, and the Kenyan flowers are very important. So what we can do is to find ways to an easy access to Turkish market. Plus how can we be a hub for Kenyan products? For example, not just buying, but also Istanbul is a hub. And we have a daily cargo connection between Turkey and Kenya. So how can we make use of it to make Istanbul for a hub for Kenyan export products? We are working on it, and we can continue working.
So we should expect good news soon.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you so much, His Excellency Ambassador Ahmed Jamil Miroglu. And that's how we are taking a first segment break right here on Live Real Talk. Please do not go away, because when we are back, we are going to touch on other issues. Talk of matters health, talk of matters aid, because Turkey, according to Anadolu agency, which is their version of Kenyan news agency in Turkey, has ranked Turkey as the world's third largest aid provider given this pandemic. Some of the countries that have benefited include UK, Italy, and Spain. Even South Africa has benefited. What about Kenya? What about youth empowerment projects? What about other social projects? That and many more, including this is a very important week. It has been a very important week for Turkey, of course, from the historic event that happened 4 years ago. We're going to learn much more about that after the break. Don't go away.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation. Verse of the day.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. هو الذي خلق لكم ما في الأرض جميعا ثم استوى إلى السماء فسواهن 7 سماوات وهو بكل شيء عليم.
It is He who created for you all that which is on earth. Then He directed Himself to the heavens, His being above all creation, and made them 7 heavens, and He is knowing of all things.
On the next episode,
raka mbili hizi anazoswali baada ya kushika udhu ndizo zimemtanguliza Bilali mbele ya Mtume sallallahu alaihi wasallam peponi, akamsikia sauti yake kabla Rasul hajafika peponi. Jambo dogo, udhu kutanguka, Bilali unshika ukaswali na raka mbili, limempeleka Bilali peponi kabla yeye kufika. Subhanallah, Rasul akani mwenye kushangaa. Kwa hivyo hakuna dogo, ndugu zangu Waislamu, mbele ya Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hakuna lile ambalo kwamba usidharau amali utakayofanya kwa ajili ya Mwenyezi Mungu subhanahu wa ta'ala. Haujui wewe Mwenyezi Mungu amekuangazia kiasi gani jambo lile kwake ni muhimu kwa kiasi gani.
Tegea mtandao wa Mambo Leo ili upate kwanza uhondo wa mambo yanayotrend kote ulimwenguni. Ujue kina cha tamaduni zetu, kisha twende shopping mtandaoni na baadaye uwajue kwa undani waimbaji wa nashid. Kitovu cha uhondo ni hapa mtandao wa Mambo Leo. Weka tarehe, tuonane.
Jumamosi hii saa 9 kamili alasiri. Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you so much for keeping it live. Real Talk right here at the Turkish Embassy, and we are talking about the relationship between Turkey and Kenya for as far as trade, food, livestock, agriculture, health, education is concerned. And we are honored to be hosted by His Excellency Ahmed Jamil Mrolu right here at the Turkish Embassy. Thank you so much, His Excellency, once again.
Thank you very much for hosting me at the program.
It's a bilateral. I mean, you're hosting us and we're hosting you. His Excellency, talk of matters aid. Turkey, again, has been, as we said before the break, it has been regarded as the third largest aid provider in the world with this pandemic, with our neighbors, even South Africa, benefiting, and we've not seen much of that in the country. His Excellency, what's up? Why? And we thought you're a priority country.
I see. Thank you very much for mentioning about Turkey's humanitarian foreign policy, because this is one of our priority. I mean, one of the main themes of Turkish foreign policy is the humanitarian aspect. So also I would like to bring to your attention that maybe Turkey is not the richest country in the world, as you may know, but it is the most generous country, I must say, in terms of humanitarian aid. And like Kenya, we are hosting many refugees, and Turkey is the country which hosts the most refugees. Now we are hosting around 4.5 million refugees, and Kenya is doing a great job in this sense. So we are maybe having the same responsibilities and problems, the same challenges. So this is an important point. Now I must say I cannot agree with you when you just mentioned that Turkey is trying to help all the countries except Kenya. I must say maybe there is one problem. Maybe this problem is that maybe we are not very good at promoting what we are doing. Maybe you don't see it on the news, on the news channels, but we are trying to do our best. For example, lately through Turkish Coordination and Cooperation Agency, we were able to reach to 1,200 families in Kenya during the pandemic times, and we had a program which is called the Food Security and Hygiene Support Program. As I mentioned, we have reached to 1,200 families, and these were the most vulnerable members of the society in Nairobi and outside Nairobi. Of course, the COVID measures hindered us from reaching all around Kenya this year, but we are doing our best to help our Kenyan brothers and sisters. And of course, it is not just limited to food stuff or hygiene support. We also trying to revive the livelihoods. For example, 2 weeks ago, we brought some machinery from Turkey to Kagamega for chicken and some foodstuff for the animals. So we continue this kind of projects. We are trying to reach every corner of Kenya, but of course sometimes it takes time, but I must make sure that we are always next to our Kenyan friends. We are in touch with the Kenyan authorities. We are informed of the needs, and gradually we are planning to provide all the equipment and everything needed. As far as I know, also it is not just from government to government. Also the Turkish Kenyan companies, there are many, and they are trying to do on their own. For example, there is a mattress producer, and now they have started to produce masks.
Yes.
And they are also donating it to the different sectors of the communities. So I must say that we are always, we have been and we will be, of course, next to our Kenyan.
And we're so honored about that, and we're so grateful for that. I remember even during the flood victims, the mattresses that were donated to the flood victims,
Yes.
of course, came from a very bold leadership. But again, talk of health support at this time, as you've seen, the numbers are on an ascending trajectory in terms of COVID-19 positive patients, and that is the whole essence. I mean, medical support. Should we expect medical support maybe as a country looking
No,
forward?
definitely we are in touch with, as I said, with the Kenyan authorities. We have also received some lists, and now it's been evaluated. Of course, we are trying to help every country which demands our, help, assistance. So maybe today, maybe tomorrow, but all the equipment will be coming to Kenya. Hopefully, we are working on it.
Yeah.
And also, we should not just, when we are facing this pandemic, we should not just think about the, equipments or other things. There are also some other issues that we can cooperate. For example, we had our experience, and you had your experience, so we can exchange experience. And because also Kenya and Turkey are both tourism countries, and we are both severely affected because of the pandemic. But now we have started the opening of our tourism industry with some measures, and our tourism minister just sent a letter to his Kenyan counterpart explaining what we have done, and hopefully also we can cooperate in this.
Share experiences and ideas on that.
Yes, yes.
That would be amazing. Before we seal off matters health, His Excellency, Kenya is, especially the authorities, are really trying to balance between livelihood and lives. You know, by closing down the country, basically you are affecting the livelihood of people, and by opening up the country, there is a fair share of risks on people's lives. So you, as a diplomat, you as a human, basically, what would you go for? Would you choose livelihood or lives, or both? And if both, then how?
Now, this is the dilemma of not just Turkey and Kenya. This is the dilemma in the world. So this is a totally new situation, and everybody is now trying to find out the best solution. But for the time being, when we look at the experience of all around the world, including Kenya, it is understood that there is a very delicate balance. So the governments which find the best delicate balance are the most successful. So for the time being, when I look at Kenya, I see that yes, this is convincing me that Kenya is going to the right direction, right choices. Of course, there is no a black or white choice in this. Both options are very important. So you must have a very delicate balance in this. We have started this. We also started gradually reopening of the economy and tourism sector, which Kenya has also started with the announcement of His Excellency Kenyatta. And hopefully, of course, it will be very hard, but now the most important thing is it is not just the responsibility of the governments, but it also depends on the prudence of the citizens.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. His Excellency, now moving on to matters education before we go on to the historic event that happened 4 years ago. I know you're very much attached to it, and we're going to talk about that. But first, let's handle matters education. As of last year, 2019, December, at least 310 students so far have benefited from the Turkish government scholarship program. And of course, 2020 came with the coronavirus pandemic that has stalled a number of issues, including education. Are we looking at this relationship going further? And if yes, then are we looking at expansion of the same projects? That is one. Secondly, moving on with the same education empowerment project, then have you considered maybe putting up an infrastructure within the country to especially expand this particular project, education project?
Also, education aspect is very important for us, and as far as I know, since late 80s, we hosted many the students, and you mentioned about 300 something, but this is just for the Turkey scholarships. This is which were organized by a special institution in Turkey. But from 80s, many students went to Turkey on government scholarships or on their private, on their own pockets. They went to Turkey and had their, education. Plus, we have many also different kind of scholarships from Islamic Development Bank, Turkish Danet Foundation also offers some scholarships. So when we look around the total number, I understand it's around 2,500.
Oh, okay.
And we have many doctors who have graduated from Turkey, and we have also we are on the stage of establishing a Turkish alumni association, because these people are very important bond between Turkey and Kenya. These are, I must say, honorary ambassadors to Kenya from Turkey, and of course this is important. So we want to see how we can manage more students in Turkey, and now currently there are some students studying in Turkey, and of course this is a very delicate period, and they are in Turkey. Maybe their families are a little bit concerned about their children, but I had very good news from my Kenyan colleague in Ankara. He just in our last conversation, he said that he would like to thank Turkish government because they are taking very good care of the Kenyan students.
Wow.
So this is important. Plus, what can we do more? We have Turkish Marif Foundation, and now it has a representative in Kenya. What is the Turkish Marif Foundation? It is the only organization which was authorized by the Turkish government to provide education service abroad. And why they are here? They are here to maybe open schools, maybe to assist their Kenyan counterparts. So we have some very productive, of course, contacts, and we are looking how we can move forward. For example, in my opinion, now in Kenya, vocational training, technical training is very important, and I'm sure we will be able to share our experience with our Kenyan brothers, and we are working on it. So education is very important, of course.
Interesting. Last but not least, you've just mentioned about the empowerment and the vocational training. Maybe over and above education, just maybe very briefly, empowerment programs. Do you have any empowerment programs so far as a country in this country?
Definitely, we are realizing these programs through TİKA, Turkish Cooperation Coordination Agency. This is one of the main priorities of TİKA. So empowerment of women, empowerment of the youth is key areas. For example, as far as I remember, there was a project in which TİKA donated sewing machines to the ladies in rural areas, so that they can start up their own business. Even these machines were not donated. it was just hired to them, so they earn their money, they earn their machines, and then they start making a living.
Okay.
So by this way, because it is always important not to give fish, but to teach how to fish. Yes. This is the main idea in our development cooperation with Kenya.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you. Yes, that was His Excellency Ahmed Jamil Miroglu. I'm a big believer of where you're coming from and where you are have a big stake to where you're going. And we cannot finish this interview without touching on the historic event that happened 4 years ago, this month of July, particularly 15th of July. It's a very monumental month. I'll tell you the personal story that I had in regards to that event just after this break. And not just me, but again, His Excellency as well. He'll tell us where he was at that time, what he was doing, what was the experience, and how important is this month in the Turkish calendar. This and much more after the break. Keep it live, Real Talk.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation. Quote of the day. Uthman bin Affan radiallahu anhu said, "Do not quarrel and do not create differences among yourselves. Hold fast to the rope of Allah and maintain unity in your ranks." On the next episode,
muhifadhi Allah na viungo zako atakuhifadhi. Wewe kiungo chako ulikifanyia vituko zote, umefanya vituko zote ambazo kwamba umefanya, umekuja umejisifu na madhambi ambayo kwamba umetekeleza. Ndugu yangu, unakuja baadaye kutulia when it's too late, usharibu kila kitu. Usharibu kila kitu. Vijana wetu wengi hawezi. Talaka nyingi ambazo kwamba zatoka kwa nyumba, vijana hawawezi. Vijana hawakuhifadhi tupu zao, hawakuhifadhi macho zao, hawakuhifadhi ubongo wao na maasi. Lao ungehifadhi, ungejihifadhi nafsi yako mpaka wakati ambao kwamba utakuja kuoa wako wa halali, wallahi Allah azza wa jalla kuachi.
Kuanzia Jumatatu hadi Ijumaa kila saa 2 hadi saa 3 asubuhi na saa 10 hadi 10:30 jioni, Horizon TV ikishirikiana na taasisi ya maendeleo ya mtaala yani KICD itakuletea vipindi vya masomo ya msingi na ya sekondari. Usikose kuungana nasi kila siku ya wiki saa 2 hadi saa 3 asubuhi na saa 10 hadi 10:30 jioni.
Pearls of Wisdom.
Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, may Allah be pleased with him, narrated that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "O Allah, I take refuge in you from anxiety and sorrow, weakness and laziness, miserliness and cowardice, the burden of debts, and from being overpowered by men."
You're watching Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Thanks so much for keeping it live, Real Talk. And we are into our third segment, the final stage of this amazing conversation that I'm having with Ahmed Jamil, His Excellency Ahmed Jamil Moroglu. And I hope you are benefiting as much as I'm benefiting right here at the Turkish Embassy. His Excellency, now let me tell you this story. I went for a meeting that morning. It was actually on the 16th of July. I went for a meeting that morning, and everyone else knew about that story apart from me. What happened the night before. And the way they were narrating it, they're telling me, brother, you missed the movie. We were watching it live on TV, everything as it was unfolding. And they explained to me that story. And after that, I went to look for that footage and watched it. The attempted coup that happened in Turkey, 15th of July, 4 years ago. We're talking about 2016, right?
Yes.
Tell us about the event, His Excellency. How was it?
Now, I was also a live witness to what has happened.
Really? You were in Turkey at that time?
Yeah, definitely. And I was there, of course, like many Turkish students. It was a hot summer night in July, and it was around 9:30, 10 o'clock. Then we start hearing about the jets flying, very low altitude, and very disturbing the sound of the engine of the fighter jets. So we understand it because it's not normal. At late night, I mean, it's there is no reason why the jet's flying. So everybody start to understand that there is something wrong is going on.
Okay.
And after a few hours later, we understand that it's a coup attempt.
How did you find out it's a coup attempt?
Because of the bombing. And I must say it's not a it's a very bitter experience to see that your own city is being bombed, and it is not from an enemy force, but it is a terrorist group which embedded in itself inside the Turkish army. So this was the most bitter part of this experience, because it is this terror group which hid itself inside the Turkish military, start bombing its own people, killing its own citizens, innocent citizens. So this was a very bitter and shocking experience. So what has happened is, first, the most important thing is when everybody understands that it's a coup attempt, then all political parties, including the opposition parties, all the civil, society organizations, all the media, they just made an announcement that they are against this coup attempt. So there was a unity. And then, this is not the only thing, then there is the Turkish people. They went onto the streets.
Yes.
And they defended their democratic rights, because the Turkish people say that if somebody is going to change the government, it is with our will. It is with our democratic right to vote and change government. Nobody can change the constitutional order of the Turkey through a coup. So they made it to the streets with their flags, but this group then start shooting at them, their own citizens, and they killed 251 Turkish citizens, innocent citizens, plus they wounded around 2,000 people. And then with the fighter jets, they started to bomb the Turkish parliament, and I heard all this, watched this like a movie, an interesting movie, but it was not a movie. It was a sad experience. And then they bombed the presidential compound, and they tried to kill Turkish president and the Turkish prime minister. They attempted this. Yes, and then when they see that all the people are against it, all the Turkish public is against this, so they understand they cannot move, and they were arrested, and many of them they just go to the police, and they say, okay, we cannot control. So this was that's why 15th of July was very important. Why? Because the Turkish people defended their rights themselves. So from that moment we started to commemorate 15th of July as a day of democracy and national unity.
Wow. His Excellency, there is a famous quote that's associated and taken back to His Excellency Tayyip Erdogan about this event, this sad event that happened, where he said that the mosques are going to be our camps and the minarets are going to be our helmets, of war helmets. From my understanding of the story, there was a time that the adhan, the Muslim call to prayer, started from all the mosques.
Yes.
At what point did this come?
It was, first of all, everybody was shocked because there is the bombing, and there is, this coup plotters, which are belonging to the so-called Gülenist movement. In fact, it's a terrorist organization. We call it FETÖ. They are Fethullah terrorist organization. So they were on the streets. But our president did not step backwards. On the contrary, he was on the TV and he said, please don't bow down to these people. These are the enemies of the Turkish nation, and go and defend your democratic rights. And with this remark, everybody was on the streets with their flags. And after that, in order to encourage people, in order to give them moral strength, all around Turkey, all the mosques started salahs.
All over the country.
Yes, till morning.
Yes.
And this was a very important moral strength for everybody, and the coup was defeated. So also this is another important issue. Then everybody then saw the real face of this movement. Before it was just presenting itself as a very innocent civil movement, but then it is understood that it had another motive to take over the government. And they have already they were ready to do anything, killing their own citizens. But it was with the brave approach of the Turkish society, it was defeated.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. 4 years later, His Excellency, His Excellency Ambassador, what are the lessons that you have taken from that as a country moving forward into the future?
First of all, that night there was also something very important. I would like to thank our Kenyan friends, because that fateful night, our Kenyan friends also extended their support to Turkey, to the Turkish people. And His Excellency Kenyatta was among the first world leaders who condemned the coup attempt. So we will always remember this show of solidarity. This was very important for us. So with that night, we understand the real face of this organization. But there is another issue, because we understand and we deferred this threat, but they established themselves in more than 150 countries through schools and businesses. So now it is our responsibility to warn our friends all around the world about this organization, because we suffered a lot, because we were we didn't see their real face, but we don't want our friends to experience the same, suffer from the same, things. So we must show to all our friends their real face. This is an important threat. It is not just a threat to Turkey. This organization is threat to every country in which they operate. So also we find opportunity on every 15th of July to explain to our friends about the real face of this double-faced organization and ask them to be vigilant, because we don't want them to suffer the same fate like us, because we lost 250 people.
That fateful.
Yes.
I mean, a very immeasurable show of solidarity from your people there, and we are truly sorry for the loss, sending our condolences, and to those who were injured as well. There were over 2,000 people who were injured on that fateful night. We do send our heartfelt message to them. We are sorry. His Excellency, as we are summing up the interview, your message to the Kenyan people, to the Kenyan Muslim community as well, and the general East African community who will be watching through that camera, His Excellency. Yes.
First of all, as I mentioned, we are commemorating a very special occasion, the 15th of July, and this week, first of all, we went through very hard times 4 years ago, but we felt the support of our Kenyan Muslim brothers and sisters support during these very difficult times, and we really never forget this show of solidarity. So Kenya is very important for us. We will again going through another difficult time like the rest of the world. I want to say that as Turkey, we will do our best to support all our brothers and sisters, and I'm sure that we will overcome this pandemic together. But like before, we will continue to work together, and we will build a better future for our next generations. So please always support us, and we will be supporting and being next to our all Muslim brothers and sisters. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That was Ahmed Jamil Miroglu, His Excellency Ahmed Jamil Miroglu, Kenyan ambassador, Turkish ambassador to Kenya. My goodness, I feel I love you so much that I want you to be a Kenyan.
I'm also, just believe me, when I'll be in Turkey, I'll be the Kenyan ambassador to Turkey.
Kenyan ambassador to Turkey.
My also colleague in Turkey is working like this. I mean, we are working like just one team.
Yes,
it's not just Turkish ambassador or Kenyan ambassador. We are working for the benefit of our both countries.
Interesting. You see, actually, when I was researching about this show as well, I realized that there are Kenyan Turks and there are Turkish who are Kenyans as well. So, I mean, we welcome you as well.
Thank you very much.
Our constitution allows the dual citizenship.
This is it's an honor to be, if you see me like this, it's an honor. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. His Excellency Ahmed Jamil Miroglu, I mean, amazing insights. We're looking at a brighter future for as far as Kenya and Turkey relationship is concerned. This has been the live Real Talk, and thank you so much for keeping it here. Let's continue this conversation. 21951 is our SMS line, and don't you forget to follow us and subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is Horizon TV Kenya, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. It is Horizon TV Kenya. Let us continue with this conversation, Kenya-Turkey relationship. I have been your host Faisal Kasim, and this has been the live Real Talk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
قال تعالى في محكم تنزيله بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
Ninasaha kutoka pwani.